storytelling, marketing. You need tons of marketing, brand awareness, and good product. All that comes with time, and you need not just 1 year, but sometimes 2 to 3 year run rate to kind of really continue on. Because if you give up after 1 year, it takes sometimes 10 years for a brand to build in this industry. But also, it's like understanding, what motivates you to start a business, because truthfully, it's never easy. For example, you may find a great deal, like a factory in our sense that can make products at very low minimums, but their construction may be terrible. Our first shells, we had a run where half the shells were right because one guy was doing things correctly on the assembly line, the other guy is like asleep.
Well, maybe you can teach us a few tricks of the trade. But I guess first we could talk a little bit about your background. If you'd like to tell us kind of where you're from and how you got to where you are.
Yeah, certainly. So I'm from beautiful Honolulu, Hawaii, which is a place that's not really known much for anything besides beautiful weather. We get rain and the occasional hurricane, but never dips below. I've never really seen dip below 60. It's gone to the 60s a couple times. And that's when everyone bundles up, and it's pretty cold there. I came to school actually in Boston in 2010, and that's kind of the first start of my journey into the cold, if you'd say. It's one of those things where I wasn't prepared kind of for the weather conditions in New England, and I kind of quickly realized proper clothing makes a big difference, and the right clothing to me at the time really was stuff that was really purpose made for the mountain. So I was wearing a lot of jackets that were ski or snowboarding focused. I was wearing a Burton jacket actually when I was commuting to work, and I realized all the technology that's kind of built around mountain apparel really, the brand is, I'm not really much of a mountaineer. I'm a very beginner snowboarder, I like to say, and I still am. I've never really improved much because I don't get out there too much, transparently. But I was wearing a lot of stuff that was, essentially hard shell and things that were, with synthetic insulation, stuff that really spoke to the idea that, I should be doing something that's active and in the mountains. But here I was, essentially walking through the wind tunnels of Boston and freezing, but I was wearing clothing that was protecting me a lot better than, men's pea coats or things I was wearing at the time. So it was really more of a lifestyle philosophy that I really realized a lot of mountain apparel made sense for places that have the more harsher conditions. I'm sure in Canada, you'd see all the winters that go up there, and even places that are higher in elevation experience this phenomenon too. So that's really the idea to me, that I wanted to make essentially a brand that was actually a little bit different. And it kind of all started with the jacket. So we had a proof of concept to make a better 3-in-1 actually back in 2016 into 2017. That was kind of my first foray into experimenting if the TERRACEA idea could work. So we actually made a 3-in-1 system with the mid layer actually being super wearable. My one kind of gripe before was I had a 3-in-1 that the mid layer essentially was like went above my belly button. It didn't make any sense. It zipped out and you could wear it, but it wasn't really custom made for a fit that made sense. So we actually made one where we actually had a Polartec Wind Pro, which is one of my favorite products, as a mid layer that zipped into a shell. And beyond that too, for extreme, essentially Arctic exploration, we had that zipped into an insulator as well, which is like completely bonkers. It's way too much insulation that you need, but it worked really well, especially for people that get super cold. So we had that kind of idea that kind of formed. And, over the next 7 years, it's been kind of a lumpy journey. So for myself, obviously as a new entrepreneur, not really in apparel, I experienced a lot of hardship and sort of, a understanding that, it takes a lot more marketing too to grow a brand than just making sales. So to make product, you have to make a lot of it. I made a lot, didn't sell a lot. Kind of had to make some decisions to offset inventory. And then, at the time too, COVID hit. So I took a year off to become a full-time dad. My daughter is almost 5 now, which is crazy to think about. But at the time, I essentially, tried to work from home without much success. The next couple of years, I actually went into wholesale. So I actually tried to, essentially, I had a guy that was at a local college here, University of New Hampshire, Mike, great guy, just went door to door knocking, essentially, and saying like, "Hey, we have a new brand, TERRACEA. Would you like to check it out?" We had 4 products at the time, and it worked because essentially all the stores we were going to, all the outdoor retailers and ski shops at the time, were had a lot of money. So they were inventory poor but cash rich, and that kind of turned to a good success formula for us. As well as the outdoor booms. Everyone was going outside because during social distancing, you could only really do stuff outside essentially. So the next 2 years were really a bit of a struggle because that first year was great, and then after that, we found ourselves essentially being not able to kind of penetrate the market through just product, because you need essentially the marketing to also back up your brand, tell the story, which costs a lot of money, truthfully. And it's something where I wasn't prepared to kind of do to balance off the inventory that we had. But the next 2 years have really turned into a great success, where we've actually pivoted into becoming a direct to online company through TERRACEA.com, which is where we stand now. And also, the new message is really we stand for New England weather as a test capsule for the world. So, because we have all 4 seasons here, everyone talks about weather every single day. You just like check your app, you're like, oh, it's going to be warm again, it's going to be rainy, it's going to be snowy. It's a constant topic of conversation here. And B, we have all the weather sometimes in the same week, as I like to say. You can go from 70s and sunny all the way down to, single digits and freezing sometimes in within 7 days. So it's kind of a cool thing where I think the brand itself can be built around, not just because I'm not from New Hampshire or New England, but it's something where we all kind of experience the same things when you go outside your door, all the weather, and you have to kind of really prepare for it. So that's kind of where we are right now.
There are a couple things I love about your story. One is that you're Hawaiian, bringing like outdoor, like all weather gear in New England, and I think there's this concept that I like to kind of champion called outsider insights. I myself lived in Japan for a number of years, and I've started to appreciate that some perspectives, it's necessary sometimes to have an outside perspective. You can like drill down and be a local, but you're never going to quite see. Well, both the outsiders are never going to quite be a local. Like we're aware of that. Like why can I fit in or whatever? But then the opposite, I think we're now hopefully starting to see, which is the locals are never going to quite get that 30,000 foot view because they're cursed by belonging. And so it's really interesting to see that Hawaiian would leave heaven on earth and wonderful weather, as you said, to go live in, I'm sure, beautiful New England. But then the insights that come from that. So that's a really interesting story there. Also, your story of going door to door to sell your, bring awareness to your product reminds me of Sarah Blakely's story from Spanx. Are you familiar with her at all?
Uh, yes, listened to a couple podcasts with Sarah on it, and very inspirational. So yeah, there's definitely one of those things where kind of word of mouth with our brand kind of really took off after kind of people knew about it. The truth is, we are a very small bootstrap company, which is why it made things hard. In our industry, to kind of really do things correctly, you need, essentially what I was thinking was the whole pie was just a sliver, and you need so much more from PR to communications about your brand and my story, to better marketing, social awareness, things like that. So these are all things that I kind of really underestimated during my journey too. So the door to door part was great, but it only got me so far. And I think it's something where the restraints of kind of our industry and what I have to do to kind of make products happen kind of really put a cap on how much I can do in terms of like awareness just through organic reach. So, as a CEO now at the company, I'm trying to really focus on strategically how we sort of guide, the business to scale appropriately to kind of really match our manufacturing and our demand.
You mentioned kind of the lay of the land when you were going door to door. But what do you think was your differentiator? Why do you think they said yes to you? Because I'm sure they had other offers.
Yeah, they like my story. Like you said, I am an outsider that's kind of not the same old. I all the brands that I kind of see popping up, the Steos, Flylos, they're all like mountain made, mountain lifestyle, and I'm like, I'm nowhere near a mountain. I'm still wearing this stuff. So we're actually more of a seacoast vibe, if that makes any sense. Where it's more about comfort and stretch and just kind of like materials that kind of really feel better, essentially. So I think the one big thing is, our products were really good because as someone that isn't a hands-on designer, I do work with very talented designers that help me kind of with the patterning and testing and fitting and then production side of things. I put a big emphasis on material and kind of quality. So I do think our stuff stacked up to the best of the best, which is something no one expects from a small brand no one's ever heard of. So in order to get their foot in the door, you have to make good product, which is number one. So I think that was a big thing. Number two really is I really felt the strong momentum of people wanting to see a brand out of New England come out. And it's something that no one expected this guy from Hawaii to kind of do this, but um, it's something where there is essentially a lot of stagnation in a lot of brands around here. So it is a kind of a saturated marketplace, very competitive. But I think the one thing we have that's different too is our name is very memory friendly. It's essentially unpacked. It's actually Terra for Earth, which everyone knows, but Sia is actually solution. in Greek, or remedy. So it's actually a mismatch of two different words. And because of the fact is everyone around New England loves the outdoors, and we also experience all the weather, there's a bit of this kind of like resonating message that, oh yeah, I kind of get it. It's this aha moment that something like this could exist. Versus other brands out there like even Arc'teryx or Mountain Hardware that, or I'm sure Arc'teryx in the Northwest is huge in Vancouver. They have this kind of more like gritty, kind of like hardcore performance, best of the best kind of thing. And I mean, truthfully, their stuff is very good, but it also comes at a cost. And I think for me, I think we offer reasonable price points for very high quality materials that I think work really, really well. We won't kind of stack up with the fact is like we're not based around ultralight or mountaineering as kind of our main focus, which is why we have other tenants that we sacrifice. We do use all sustainable materials, recycled. We are PFC free since 2022, which is before it was mandatory for a lot of brands. So we are cognizant of other societal factors too that kind of add to making a better brand in general. So I think we're kind of the next up. That's kind of how I like to put it.
Is there anything in your Hawaiian heritage that you think gives you a unique advantage or has helped you in this endeavor?
Growing up in Hawaii, it is more laid back, I'd say. So my personality as a founder, I'm not the traditional like, extroverted, super talkative founder that likes to brag about everything. I think just my nature. I've tried for 7 years and I've never gotten it. So I'm like, I'm just gonna be myself, which is a little bit more introverted and kind of, more conversational with, even when it comes to like talking to investors or people that are, stakeholders in the company. I'm not that kind of guy that just very hammers down on things. So I think that's kind of part of what lends the brand itself to also be a little bit more laid back. I think in general we approach things with less of a core angle from all sides, and I think that kind of means too we don't specifically tie into one industry. Like originally our stuff was adopted as being ski wear, even though it was never meant to be. I made a really nice 3L shell here, really good material. It feels like butter. It's super comfortable, but all people could see about the shell was that it's a ski jacket. So, the way to market it, unfortunately, with kind of people that didn't understand what I was trying to get after, was to call it like a ski jacket or a ski shell. And, truthfully, I don't even ski. I know nothing really about it. I know people love it here, but that was never my purpose. A shell works well because it's a weather protectant product and a layering for the outer layer that works well with an insulator. So that's in my eyes kind of what I kind of approach things at. So it's more of a lifestyle angle that's a little bit different. Um, I like to say too in Hawaii, people like to yeah, it's more of a sense of community and kind of camaraderie. So a lot of people that are, I, it's kind of hard to explain. I think around here everyone's kind of like, I need to be the best. I need to wear the best. I need to have the best equipment. I need to do this. And in Hawaii, it's a little bit less like less competitive like that. So I think in my eyes, it's more about like, me building this brand around this concept of weather, unifying people that are beyond, just activity. So I don't want to make stuff just for this niche group of snowboarders or skiers or hikers or surfers even. It's not about that. It's about the idea that weather exists no matter where you are. And that's kind of the unifying message that I like to bring. So it's more inclusive, I like to say, than some other brands. They kind of put their flag down on one thing. For example, Burton's just like, we're snowboarding, we're just that, and it's not something that I've stuck out to do. I just want to make better products that make sense for my life and for others that live around here.
What are your hopes for TERRACEA in the coming years? How do you vision the future of your company?
Yeah, the short term is we've done essentially the last 9-10 months have really been preparation for this fall. We've been sacrificing a lot in terms of waiting. Now that the moment's here, we're excited to kind of really execute and essentially have the best year ever just through our website. So terracea.com, that's where you'll find all of our great stuff. We're actually launching 17 new SKUs this coming week. From hats, you can see this pretty cool puff print hat I have holding here. Really cool retro look. It's just more lifestyle focused. Super comfortable hoodies we source from these like really, really nice factories that you can't get anywhere else. They're like just super premium, super high end, very comfortable, and just having the best year ever. And then from there, it's really taking the next big step, which is like scaling TerraCea to be actually do distribution the right way into select accounts. For us too, it's also building up this logo side. So we've been doing some small batch, essentially logo work for other companies. Work for companies like HubSpot and tequila brand we worked with Jägermeister, for example, things like that. So we've been kind of trying to grow different revenue verticals in our business. Understanding that we are not quite cut out for like specialty retail at this point, because it just takes a whole different set of math essentially to make it work. But we've ability to kind of really grow in different areas too. So just trying to grow more and do it the right way.
Do you serve North America only, or do you ship worldwide?
We are worldwide. We are on Shopify, which means another great Canadian company. Utilize their services to ship internationally. We've shipped to Japan, shipped to Australia, New Zealand, Europe, pretty selectively because we don't really specifically target overseas. But we have gotten customers that have heard about us, and we have products all over the world, which is pretty cool.
Excellent. Well, TERRACEA.com, we'll put the link in the show notes as well as on the screen. From one entrepreneur to another, respect and congratulations on making it through the 7-year gauntlet. It looks like you're in a great position, and I wish you much success in the future.
Thanks so much, David. Really appreciate your time, and thank you for having me on.